It's Friday, August 31st, 2012. I'm Alex Jones, and this is yet another original edition of Hardcore Information Warfare. It's INFOWARS Nightly News, straight ahead.
Tonight on the INFOWARS Nightly News, Fed boss Ben Bernanke and his bankster cartel may fire up the printing presses once again as he hints at yet another bailout. Then, Chinese fluoride suppliers brazenly admit their product is insecticide. Plus, Climate Depot's Mark Marino gives us an update on all the global warming hype. All this and more on the INFOWARS Nightly News.
Our first story tonight is a big one. Quantitative easing part 3. Every economist out there, there's really no debate on this, has stated that quantitative easing 3, or monetizing more debt, printing more greenbacks, flooding the world with dollars, both digital and physical, will spur huge inflation, maybe even hyperinflation. And just yesterday, at a speech at Jackson Hole, where they go to make these basic announcements, he said that they would provide additional accommodation as needed. Well, we're coming to a fiscal cliff. We are damned if we do by December if they don't create the quantitative easing. And if they do, it's going to create the inflation. So if they don't, we're in trouble. If they do, we're in trouble. They have put us into a position here as a society where either they hyperinflate things with quantitative easing 3, and then it's harder to buy things. It hurts people that are on fixed incomes, or they don't do it and the whole economy shuts down even faster. But either way, this is happening because we're in a fractional reserve banking system, and because we've been made totally dependent on fiat currency. And again, here is that report. During his Jackson Hole speech on Thursday, Fed boss Ben Bernanke said the privately owned bankster cartel will, quote, provide additional policy accommodation as needed and may engage in more so-called quantitative easing. And Ron Paul went on to say that it is going to cause a very, very serious problem. The chickens are coming home to roost any way you cut it. Let me boil this down. The Federal Reserve promised that it would never do QE3, but now in the last year, they've been making all these hints and then having the media, the financial news, beg for it, like the Federal Reserve is the savior, so the ensuing inflation can be blamed on the population begging for it. When the Federal Reserve and the private banks engineered the derivatives crisis that is lying at the heart of this entire situation. So that's the bottom line on that, and it's huge news. We're going to be following this very, very closely. And again, Kurt Nemo reports on that at Infowars.com. Headline, Fed hints at third round of quantitative easing. Now let's look at the next report. This integrates with the 1.4 billion rounds of ammo purchased in the last year, the armored pillboxes, the checkpoints, the preparations for civil unrest, basically government gearing up to take over the states and the individuals that live therein. And just like you've seen the financial crises taking place in Europe. And there's an article that came out in the Star Tribune in Minneapolis, St. Paul. We reported on it at Infowars.com. Military Minneapolis drills based around confrontation scenarios. And they've even got city officials saying, this is police state. This is preparing us for martial law. It's the local police training with special operations group out of the Army to take on the American people that don't like what the federal government's doing. So the feds are taking over riot control that's supposed to be under the states. They're taking over everything. And I had Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer on today, who's been a whistleblower inside the government, and he said, no, there are preparations basically for martial law in this country. Then we've got all the civilian inmate labor camp programs, the Army documents for gun confiscation, re-education. This is all going on. This is on Army websites, and the mainstream media will not report on it. Whether it was Rome 2,000 years ago or Hitler's Germany, when the military starts getting used domestically, you're in deep trouble, whether it's North Korea or places like Venezuela today. This is really chilling what's happening, and Aaron Dykes covered that last night with the amazing videos of them practicing protecting the Federal Reserve. And I covered that. That's the real government. In 2009, when we protested the Fed in Dallas and Houston, Ron Paul was down in Houston. I was up in Dallas because I'm here in Austin. Most of you are north, but I'm down here near the ocean, down here near the Gulf of Mexico, so Dallas is north for me. And it came out, the Army was there watching us like we were terrorists. The Federal Reserve is the occupational government. It's the takeover arm. And that's why it's all about guarding them. It's why their buildings are built like castles and fortresses. They knew all this. They knew they were going to bankrupt us. They used making us poor as a political system of control. Here's another one. Proof, shifting gears out of overt military control to chemical control. Proof, Chinese industrial fluoride suppliers openly list sodium fluoride as insecticide and adhesive preservative in addition to water treatment chemical. Fluoride pushing doctors and dentists who try to contaminate your water supply with fluoride are promoting their deadly agenda with a clever lie. A lie you will see obediently repeated in every fluoride push. Here's how it is reported, Mike Adams breaks down. Fluoride is a naturally occurring mineral, yeah, like cyanide, in our water. Our city's water is unfortunate enough to have a low level, so we are simply adjusting the fluoride in the water to its optimum level to improve public health. This is after the federal government has said, take it out of the water. And I have read and shown newscast here where they admit they have Chinese fluoride, where most of it comes from. A lot of it comes from Florida as well, out of the phosphate mines. And it's got mercury, lead, hundreds of chemicals in it. And so instead of having to store toxic waste, you pay to drink it. Millions in a year in cities like Austin. We pay for stuff you can't pay people to take. But again, criminals hide in the bureaucracy. You know, shut down a power plant, increase prices for the company that paid you off, make you buy toxic waste, make you drink it, take weapons grade uranium or DU, put it in weapon systems. So what if the troops die from it? I mean, it's just pure evil. Trusting people go along with this corrupt system, and we are the mark. We are the people that the con artists are targeting. So an amazing article. Read the whole thing at naturalnews.com or INFOWARS.com. Now, let's move on here. We talk about how Obama has this total CIA past at every single level. He's not the Muslim they claim he is. He's not the communist, even though he's promoting a communist agenda. His mother, his grandfather, all of them CIA. Here's an article by Jurian Masson at INFOWARS.com. Scholar who brought Obama into college law school held top intelligence clearance. Around the time former federal judge Michael McConnell lobbied Obama into a teaching position at Chicago Law School, he held a top military and intelligence clearance reportedly directed directly to Presidents Reagan and Bush on the legality of U.S. intelligence operations. And it goes over the whole fact. The point is, Obama is a CIA baby. But that doesn't mean he's an American baby, because the CIA represents the foreign banks. They ship the drugs in, they control the crime syndicates. Their excuse is, well, we control crime to control it. Yeah, you control crime to expand it. Look what you've done to our country. You were founded out of British intelligence, OSS, and Skull and Bones. It's disgusting. Let's continue here with the next report. It is time for the Ron Paul revolution to move beyond politics. Ron Paul has said this himself. This is not about Ron Paul. He was a focal point of people not wanting to be under the left-right paradigm, but get back to rugged individualism. And so Ron Paul is not the focal point now. He's leaving Congress. I've got to be honest, or I'd be lying to you. Jesse Benton and others, as we're about to cover, think that anybody who is basically libertarian or conservative is an extremist. and they want to wed themselves to the official Republican Party. And we've covered this. We've talked about it. We have a chilling clip that reporters got to his credit. In fact, I want to try to get him on next week. Peter Schiff, the economist and financial advisor, fund manager, with the text message from Jesse Benton saying, don't go to Ron Paul Fest. 10,000 families with kids there. Ron Paul spoke at it against what people were telling him to do because he is a good guy. Don't go to this thing because the Republican leadership doesn't want people to talk about libertarian stuff. It is so shameful. And all he's doing is trying to corner the market on Ron Paul and tell Ron Paul what to do. And so to his credit, because remember, it was like up to the day, will Ron Paul show up? And Ron Paul understood. Even though all his little advisors were telling him, don't go, he had to go. All these people calling it Paul Fest, trying to say he should be our president. And Jesse Benton doesn't want him to be there. My God. Jesse Benton, you're going places. In a soulless, collapsing Rome, in a soulless, collapsing Washington. Ron Paul was built off of his integrity and telling the truth, and off people resonating with that and our small contributions. And my radio show that he admitted 3.5 years ago got him half his contributions in 2008. Now, that may not mean anything to you, because you get to wear suits, strut around, and act tough. But I tell you what, I was invited to Paul Fest to speak. I didn't go because I knew people like you wouldn't want me there. I stayed out of it. I can speak to millions every day. I don't need to go speak to 10,000. But the fact that you would see those families, you know what, I need to shut up now. I've been trying to be positive. Ron Paul and his minions are not the enemy. And I love Ron Paul, but his minions make me sick. And I tell you, why don't you go work for Mitt Romney, Jesse Benton? Well, that's coming up. I'm not going to go over the whole Brandon Smith at Alt Market report here, but he goes over a lot of this, and where, Benton talks about the fringe elements. Yeah, we're the people that the Homeland Security report says are terrorists. We're the people that they say are bad because we believe in the family and freedom and decency and not being liars. We're the people that are called extremists. We're the freedom lovers. We're the liberty lovers that are called terrorists. And, I've known for several years that Jesse Benton didn't want Ron Paul on my radio show. Hey, Ron Paul got contributions and support from my show. I don't even try to get Ron Paul on, or Rand Paul anymore. Ron Paul's riding off in the sunset, and Rand's, doing his thing. Rand Paul's not my enemy. He's better than most people in the Senate. But it's sad to see you guys in love.